Protesters have gathered in Jerusalem calling for the release of hostages and for the removal of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. John Sparks has more from Jerusalem.
Big protest here in West Jerusalem. I'd say a couple of thousand people. Some people starting to drift away now, but very big protest. A lot of people here unhappy with the government. I think the one issue here that they have united around, because we are talking about a disparate range of groups, it is about the hostages, about getting the hostages home as soon as possible. I can tell you that the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has just done a press conference. Interesting, because later on this evening he will have an operation, a hernia operation, and the Justice Minister will temporarily be in charge of the country. But in this press conference, Netanyahu said he would return to work soon. He said that his heart breaks for the families of the hostages. That's something that we put to some of the people here. They were very dismissive of that. A lot of people here think that he hasn't done enough. He hasn't prioritized the return of the hostages. He's been concentrating on other things, like the prosecution of the war. He said that Hamas would be happy about a new election in this country. Another thing that was strongly dismissed when we talked to people here, Netanyahu is in a precarious political situation. He doesn't want a new election. And then he went on to say that the Rafah operation, the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force operation that has been planned for Rafah, where there are more than 1 million Palestinian civilians crowded into the southern section of Gaza, he said that operation would go ahead. That will cause concern for the Americans, concern for the British, the international community, concern from the international agencies, some of whom have been warning of a bloodbath if that goes ahead. He has said this sort of thing before, but I do think it's significant that he is saying it, that an IDF, an Israeli Defense Force operation, will go ahead in Rafah. He says this is the only way to defeat Hamas. There we go. What will people make of that here at this big protest? You know, it's a diverse range of groups. I'll just show you over here very quickly. We've got a small group of protesters here who take a very strong line on the war. I've spoken to one group here, or one person here, who said, look, the war in Gaza is genocide. That's not something you hear in Israel very often. They say that people in Israel, they don't hear about the 32,000 Palestinians in Gaza who've been killed. But it's not a view that you hear widely the rest of the demonstration. I think a lot of people, they are primarily concerned about getting rid of Netanyahu, also the hostages. That is the one thing that binds people.